So, what else I want to be saying about worldwide ethnic chat? I want to talk about the States because, I mean, although I've never been passed through on many occasions on my travels to Jamaica, but although I've never really been somewhere I want to go. A lot of Jamaicans obviously go to the States and they talk about whether they like the States better than the UK, and everybody's got their own opinion. A lot of people that I speak to say that they like the life in the UK. Um, Maybe because America's very similar in some respects to Jamaica, so maybe England's a bigger culture change for certain people. Maybe the violence that is carried on perpetually in Jamaica is similarly going on in America. We're not totally free of it here, um, but we tend to have it to a lot lesser proportion. So I find that some Jamaicans like that. They like the welfare system. And I say that not to put down any immigrant or anybody that's on welfare, because there seems to be this stigma attached to this word, that if you're claiming from this collective pool, that resource that is there is a safety net for society, then you're stigmatized. This is part of our divide and rule problem that we have um, in the capitalist system. That I don't know how you get away from that, because it's something that's been going on for hundreds of years. So it's deeply ingrained, and if you don't believe in brainwashing, or you don't believe in people being programmed, then you really ought to think about um, all the things that we we're conditioned similarly with. You know, you know, most people um, will have a similar ideologies, and ideologies that are different make people very suspicious, and this is where we get the whole idea of racism, and not just racism, even within families. I know myself. If you suffer from a mental illness, or you see things differently or act different to the societal norms, then you also can get very isolated. And it's a difficult thing to deal with, but the first step in dealing with it is talking about it and conversing about it, and expressing ourselves, because um, especially in this country, in the UK, we need to come together. And you talk about the reasons why the masses don't come together, or the many people don't see eye to eye. It's because of these divide and rule sort of strategies that are employed. Um, that is part of the brainwashing that's been going on for a long time. So when you step out of that, people can be, they can be very suspicious about you. But anyway, I say welfare, not to. I don't want that whole thing attached to it. I think people like the socialism of having that safety net and of cooperation, especially Jamaican people, because it's something that really has been natural from a grassroots level. Some people might disagree with me, and I'm sure it's changing now. But I remember going when I was to Jamaica when I was 5, and I remember there was no electricity, no running water. It was a damn long time ago. It was 1979. We certainly didn't have it in the country. I'm sure there was in Uptown and various places, but we certainly didn't have it in St. Catherine, near Bogwag, Gorge, where my family come from. Um, so they have a community spirit over there, and I think the welfare system is almost part of that, and it's socialism. It's the thing why a lot of people that are anti-politics, like Fidel Castro, or some of the communist leaders like Colonel Gaddafi. Yes, we're getting there now. We're getting to the nitty gritty. Mention people like Colonel Gaddafi. I mean, he's quite well respected um, amongst people that believe in a socialist ideology. But whether you can achieve that kind of socialism in the West as it is today is questionable. So that only holds so much weight. Talking about socialism and communism, I find is probably quite, it's not is inadequate to deal with the complex issues that we have in our political system and in the system in general. However, in the United States, they've just got Obamacare over there now. Speaking to a brother in Atlanta about the culture over there and about the politics. And as black people in the States, in the UK, we revel in the fact that you've got a black president, and if it wasn't for you lot, we would hardly see black people on television. We wouldn't have had the music that we have. We wouldn't have been inspired to have UK rappers and UK grime. And then you can, if you want to, if you're biased towards Jamaicans like I am, you can attribute all that back to Jamaica, because they do say it started hip hop and rapping and record scratching and stuff started over in Jamaica. So and sort of a bit like Marcus Garvey. The cultures have become interchangeable in certain ways, in certain respects. But I think the culture that we live in the UK is definitely a global culture, and it has been for a long time. In terms of America, we're seeing influences from all over the world now. But I mean, the predominant world culture tends to be an American one, and this is what people in the States, I don't think they actually realise, because it's so diverse and massive over there, and people don't tend to travel as much because you've got all the different climates and all the different stuff over there. But so I, really just wanted to talk about the States and the fact that I want to actually touch American soil and spend some time. I want to do Route 66 actually. Just one of the things that I really want to do. I think the country's beautiful from what I see. And we don't, just say Stevie Wonder, just say, I don't know, Nina Simone. We haven't got anything like that in the UK, especially not from that time period. And we really look up to. I don't know about everybody else actually, and they probably, I don't know if people would admit this as black people from the UK or from the Caribbean would admit pay any homage to black culture in the States. But we've seen the fights that they've been through, and all the struggles, the civil rights movements. Really interesting. Probably much more so than ours. But ours is a story that needs to be told, and this is part of this podcast as well. Ours is a story that needs to be told of why my parents came to fill post-war labour shortages. I think my dad came here in 1958. There's a much different story of black people in a Western, in a motherland, if you want. That tends to be the case with Jamaicans see UK as a bit of a motherland. America, the UK is your mother as well, but you're not going to accept that. You're coming like America's our daddy right now. We don't know about anything else. But yeah, and then you've got to separate that from all their dirty politics and then politricks. It's like, the world bullies. When I pay homage to the States, I'm paying homage to Nina Simone, I'm paying homage to, Stevie Wonder, I'm paying homage to all those gone by, James Brown, that really popularised our thing and our, feel that, that Africanness. Um, and how do you reconcile that with Obama? I mean, I'm of the opinion, because I'm very opinionated, and I'm of the opinion that once you enter politics, or you're streamed into one of those schools that most of our politicians come out of, whether it's the UK or in the States, whether it's the top universities that the presidents come out of, Harvard or wherever else it is, and over here, Eton and Oxford and Cambridge or Oxbridge. Um, do they develop an awareness that they're going to be a puppet? Do they develop an awareness that they're not actually going to be able to change things because there's forces behind that? They must know that, surely. They must know that that it's controlled by corporations and ultimately banks. So, I mean, do you go into politics thinking, can I make the smallest difference? It depends what type of president you are. I don't think you can tar them all with one brush. There's MPs that I really respect, and that it's whether they get very far in what they're trying to pursue, because they can be pulled down very quickly. Because recently we have the Panama Papers to prove that, and I want you to read up about the Panama Papers, because what's going on in there, loosely, I don't really want to go into this too tough right now, but what's going on there loosely is that they have this dirt on politicians that when they're not towing the line, and I say they, and people say they, who's she talking about, they? The corporate interests, whether that be bankers, whether that be people that run the biggest corporations like Walmart and people like that, that put the politicians in to get the best results for their gain and greed. Something I can't really understand. But how much do you need? But the point is that they can pull them down, and I don't think David Cameron appeased or made his masters very happy when he had the European referendum. Fair enough, he might be running around now trying to make it look like he wants it to stay in the European Union, because whether we like it or not now, we're in a process of regionalisation. And regionalisation, as far as I'm concerned and what I'm aware of, can only lead to a one world government. I mean, if you've already got a one world bank, you're not far off it. So, and you've got all these regional states and all these big sort of trade agreements between countries that render them borderless, and you're starting to have a one world government there. And regardless of David Cameron running around making it look like he's pro-Europe, I think he's upset. He's ruffled people's feathers, and he's upset them in the upper ranks that want to get this one world government up and running, and they'll just pull the leaders down. And guess what we do? Read the papers and go, yeah, I'm going to like a nutty boy anyways. It's full time he left the cabinet to have another puppet installed. Come on. You know what I mean? Jump on to being self-sufficient, getting out of this military system. I'm not preaching to anybody. I'm just saying that is the solution, because I don't want anybody to accuse me of sort of bringing up these massive issues, and we'll go into these in depth in future, and not backing them up by having solutions. And they're not easy, and sometimes they are easy, and we're just stubborn, and we're Western, and we're greedy, and we don't like change either. We've all got low spectrum autism, because autistic people don't like change. But we've got to embrace change. But yeah, the states, from the States to the European Union, they had the transatlantic trade agreement. I'm not quite sure. I know we had the TTP recently, but they also had the union between North America and Canada. I can't remember what that one's called, but that was a while back. So you can see all that you've got Carib as well in the Caribbean. So we've got quite a few regional organisations, and the EU is a powerful one. And the people that the Panama Papers are trying to pull down, like Vladimir Putin, and the Prime Minister of Iceland. Don't ask me to pronounce his name or anything like that, but I'll do some reading for you. But I'll go into this more because I am supposed to be talking about the States, but I'm going to touch on this. He's the one that put all the bankers in jail after the world crash. Wonder why they'd want to pull him down. I wonder these Panama Papers of these politicians having offshore tax havens, which we all knew anyway. And it's been given to journalists to throw at the pigeons, the hungry pigeons, to carry the message and overthrow world leaders. The same thing that's been going on in the Middle East. All this time it reaches our shores. We're not going to probably kill them and shoot them in the head like Colonel Gaddafi, but we certainly don't want them to have any sort of platform. So I think our freedoms are hanging in the balance. But we have to find the solutions. There are solutions out there, and we can live outside the system. We can live outside it. So yeah, I wanted to touch on about the United States, but when you start talking about the United States, all kinds of other sort of things start to develop. It's a very contentious subject, and I want to touch on it again. But I just want to pay homage to people like Stevie Wonder, Nina Simone, James Brown, who's the one that my friend's dad's always telling me I sound like when I sing? The one that sings with Frank Sinatra. Laura would know, my friend. I can't remember her name. I'm going to follow this up anyway, so stay tuned. Chat with Raslinda.